My estranged father came back on my son's 15th birthday, trying to turn him into a gambling prodigy. When I tried to stop him, he laughed and said, "Don't be so controlling." I didn't even respond. Fast forward to now, he's standing outside my apartment in tears, begging me not to take his life away. My father had the nerve to come back on my son's 15th birthday. I'd just gotten home from a double shift at the hospital, my feet aching and my back stiff, but seeing Tyler's excited face made it worth it. He was tearing into the gift I'd spent weeks saving for, the gaming console he'd talked about nonstop. I was exhausted but happy. Then the knock came, sharp and confident. When I opened the door, I froze. It was my father, Edward, standing there like some kind of ghost from my past, holding a flashy gift bag and wearing a smile that made my stomach knot up. "Hey Maya," he said, like nothing had happened. "It's been a long time." I hadn't seen him since the day I left home at 18, broke and betrayed. Tyler appeared behind me, eyes wide with curiosity. Edward crouched down, introduced himself as Grandpa, and offered the shiny new smartwatch. Tyler, completely dazzled, took the bait instantly. Edward told us he'd moved to our city, that he'd been sober for 6 years, and he even showed me the AA chips to prove it. He cried a little, promised he'd changed, and begged for another chance. Part of me wanted to slam the door, but Tyler was already smiling at him, and my heart sank. Over the next few weeks, Edward kept showing up. He wrote letters, showed proof of a new job and apartment, and finally, after Tyler pleaded with me nonstop, I allowed supervised visits. It hurt to see how quickly Tyler warmed up to him, listening to Edward's stories like he was some kind of hero. Memories flooded back, unwanted and raw. Edward's gambling had destroyed my childhood. We'd been evicted when I was 13, and my mom spiraled into a depression that eventually took her life when I was 16. The worst betrayal came when Edward stole my college fund right after I'd been accepted into nursing school, leaving me homeless and hopeless. But Edward seemed different now. He started helping out with bills and attended Tyler's basketball games. For a moment, I let myself believe things were getting better. Tyler's confidence soared, and he even made new friends. Then I started noticing things. Tyler became secretive, disappearing for hours. Edward bought him expensive gifts, claiming he'd earned it from honest work. Tyler suddenly got obsessed with math, particularly probability, something he'd never cared about before. When I found him scribbling odds calculations in his notebook, my gut twisted painfully. Edward slowly started undermining me. "Men stick together," he'd say to Tyler, smiling warmly, making me seem overly strict. My anxiety hit its peak when Tyler missed an important school event. Panicked, I tracked his phone and found him at some sketchy building downtown. I rushed there, heart pounding, and discovered Tyler sitting at a poker table, counting cards and calculating odds like a seasoned gambler. Edward stood nearby, grinning proudly. Anger surged through me, realizing he'd groomed my son into a gambling prodigy, feeding him lies about easy money and college dreams. I confronted Edward immediately. His gentle facade vanished, replaced by a cold sneer. "Tyler's my investment," he hissed. He accused me of jealousy and threatened to turn Tyler against me. Desperate and furious, I began digging into Edward's activities. My blood ran cold when I discovered he'd opened a credit card in Tyler's name, already maxed out and piling up debt that could ruin Tyler's future. I called the credit card company immediately. They confirmed the card had been opened with Tyler's social security number, but the contact information was an email I didn't recognize and a phone number that wasn't ours. When I explained that Tyler was a minor and couldn't legally enter into a credit agreement, they started the fraud investigation process. While on hold with the fraud department, I noticed a text come through on my phone from Tyler. "Going to hang with Grandpa after school. Don't wait up." I texted back immediately. "No, come straight home. We need to talk." His response came quickly. "Already told him yes. Don't be so controlling. Don't be so controlling." Those weren't Tyler's words. That was Edward talking through him. I felt sick. When the fraud representative came back on the line, I explained the situation, that my estranged father had likely opened the card using my son's information. They advised me to file a police report, which would help remove the fraudulent account from Tyler's credit history. I spent the rest of the day gathering evidence. I printed out the credit report, took photos of the gambling notebook, and made copies of Edward's letters. I even found an old photo album with newspaper clippings about my mother's suicide, where her depression was linked to financial problems caused by my father's gambling. By the time Tyler got home, it was after 7 p.m. He walked in with a new pair of expensive headphones around his neck. "Where did you get those?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He shrugged.